Hello and welcome to another fun-filled adventure of Mr. Adelman's geometry class. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a conditional statement and statements that are related to that statement and see if the related ones are true or false statements. So let's take a look at what we're going to have to do. First thing we're going to have to do is we're going to be given a conditional statement, and we're going to assume that this conditional statement is always true. Second thing, we're going to compare secondary statements to an original conditional statement. That is what this whole exercise is going to be about. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to compare the hypothesis and the conclusion of the original conditional to the secondary to see if the secondary statements are true. So we're going to compare a hypothesis to a hypothesis and a conclusion to a conclusion to see if the secondary statement is true. So let's take a look at our conditional statement. There we go. And in a homework problem or on a test problem, it would say determine the truth value of the following statements for each set of conditions. So if we take a look, first thing we need to do is determine the hypothesis and the conclusion. So in our statement, if you work hard, then you will improve. So we should know that our hypothesis, and we're getting pretty good at this, our hypothesis is you work hard. And our conclusion is you will improve. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at 4 examples of statements that are related to this condition. So let's take a look at our first example. Example 1. It says, you work hard, you improve. Let's take a look first at our hypothesis. Our original hypothesis says you work hard. Our first example, the hypothesis there says you work hard. So this is the same thing. Because it's the same thing, we're going to say that that is true. And let's take a look at our original conditional's conclusion. It says you will improve. And our first example says that you improve, which is pretty much saying the same thing. So this is also true. So if our hypothesis is true and our conclusion is true, then it makes sense that our statement, we would say this is true. So a true hypothesis with a true conclusion would give you a true statement. Let's take a look at example number 2. Example number 2 says you work hard, you don't improve. So it's a little different. So again, let's circle our hypothesis. You work hard, and yes, it's the same, so this is going to be true. But our conclusion is a little different. It says you don't improve, which is not the same. You can't even see that. It is not the same as our original. So because they are different, then we're going to say that this is false. Now what this gives us is a true hypothesis but a false conclusion. So this statement is not accurate to what our conditional says. So this is going to be a false statement. Let's take a look at example number 3. Our hypothesis in example number 3 says you don't work hard. They, of course, are not talking about anyone in my class. Okay, so we can see that it's obvious that because of this don't, it is not the same as our original here. So this is going to be a false statement, a false hypothesis rather. But look at our conclusion. You didn't work hard, and yet somehow you still were able to improve. So this conclusion is true. Now, this is where this becomes a little difficult. Because our hypothesis is false, it's sort of one of those things where all bets are off. Nothing here tells us what happens if you don't work hard. So we have no information to go on. And because we don't have any information to go on, we can't prove that it is false. So since we can't prove that it's false, we must say that it's true. All right, now let's take a look at our fourth example. Our fourth example, excuse me, I'm having some maintenance issues here. All right, our fourth example says, you don't work hard, you don't improve. Well, again, we'll circle our hypothesis, compare it to our original hypothesis. You don't work hard compared to you work hard. So these are not the same thing. So of course we will write down that our hypothesis is false. And let's take a look at our conclusion. It says you don't improve. So we've already discussed that you don't improve is not the same as you will improve. So this is also going to be a false conclusion. So now we have to decide if our statement is true or false. And this one seems a little counterintuitive to me, because if you have a false statement and a false statement, your first thought is that the statement, false hypothesis and a false conclusion, you would think we would just keep going with the false. But, like I said in example 3, because our original statement does not say anything about what happens if we don't work hard, we have no information to go on. So because we can't prove this true or false, we certainly can't conclude that it's false. So we have to say that this is also a true statement. So if we were to look at our 4 examples, all we really know is that all the statements are going to be true, except, of course, if the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false. That's the only time you would come up with a false statement. That is all we have for today. So stay classy, Plymouth North.